The governor condemns ICE for breaking up a family and detaining children to also grab a man who apparently didn't have a criminal history. Aurora's crackdown on drivers without licenses is leading to the city auctioning off dozens of people's cars.
Those people need to be held accountable, and so I am not sympathetic.
Let's look at exactly who is on SNAP in Colorado as those food benefits expire at the end of this week due to the government shutdown.
This is the beginning of healthcare. If we don't have proper nutrition, we can't expect people to stay healthy.
And descendants of 10th Mountain Division soldiers step into the mountain paths where their ancestors trained and fought. That's tonight on Next. Colorado's governor is condemning ICE for, quote, snatching up children and breaking up families after 2 kids were detained along with their father in Durango. Legal advocates, even Durango Police, offered to help return those children to their pleading mother, but they were rejected. ICE discussed the detention of this family for the first time today, and ICE gave no indication that the father is suspected of any crime or has any criminal history. The family's detention led to protests outside a small ICE facility in far southwest Colorado, where officers could be seen using what appears to be chemical agents to disperse protesters. Durango Police say the Colorado Bureau of Investigations is looking into a specific incident at that protest where a federal officer threw a female protester to the ground. ICE says the father that they detained, Fernando Jaramillo Solano, is illegally in the U.S. from Colombia. ICE's statement does not say that he entered the country illegally or that he has been involved in or suspected of any crime. Democratic Governor Jared Polis called ICE's actions in this case extremely maddening. The Trump administration, of course, has pledged to focus deportations on the worst of the worst criminals. But in a push to ramp up their deportation numbers, the administration has been detaining and deporting people not accused of crimes, and in some cases, their children along with them. If you want a great deal on a used car, have you considered checking out the selection from the Aurora Police Department? APD's auctioned off dozens of cars this year after seizing them from drivers who couldn't provide a license, insurance, and registration. Our Evan Krugel looks at how much Aurora's making off this new Sydney ordinance.
If you're looking for a used car in Aurora, you could try the typical dealerships on Havana. Or you could try this, an online auction featuring dozens of cars and trucks, all seized by Aurora Police.
This gives our community an opportunity to purchase a car at a cheaper price.
Matthew Longshore isn't your typical salesman. But for the past year, his department has been taking cars from drivers who get pulled over with 3 strikes, meaning no insurance, no registration, and no driver's license all at once.
Without those 3 things, you're going to lose your car.
Records show Aurora Police have now taken roughly 1,500 cars under the city's 3 strikes policy. 219 have been sold at auction for nearly $262,000.
I think people are getting the message.
Mayor Mike Kaufman says that money goes towards paying for the impound, with the rest going back into the city's general fund.
Those people need to be held accountable, and so I am not sympathetic.
The policy has drawn criticism, including some city council members who are worried it could drive low-income drivers further into poverty. Others view it as government overreach.
If we didn't have to go to this level, we wouldn't go to this level. I think there was one comment, words to the effect that we're sort of pirates seizing these vehicles. But I think it is a tough policy. We want compliance. The goal is compliance. Look, if somebody's following the law, this is not going to be a problem. If they're not following the law, it's going to be a problem.
Drivers are given 30 days to prove to the city they have insurance, registration, and a driver's license before that car is sold. And records show roughly 85% of drivers are doing that and getting their cars back. The remaining 15% are being sold at auction. The latest one wrapped up this morning, Kyle, with 39 seized cars that were sold.
I feel like, right, a lot of people have been in the situation where it's like, yes, officer, here's the license, right, the registration, right? So, like, if you get popped for no license at one stop and no registration, no insurance at another, can those be cumulative? They can take your car off of that or no?
No, and that's a question a lot of people have. It has to be all 3 things at once. So you don't have a license, no registration, no insurance. They take the car right away, right there on the spot. This isn't you get pulled over 3 separate times and can't find your registration. That is certainly a situation a lot of people would find themselves in, so it has to be all three at once.
And most of the people have been able to come up with documents and get the vehicles back.
85% have been able to get their cars back. Only 15% of those people have been unable to prove they have all three of those things to the city.
Well, and you don't want those people on the road. All right, Evan Krugel, thank you. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston is unilaterally extending the city's use of license plate tracking cameras against the wishes of City Council, which is now asking the city auditor to get involved to help block the mayor's surveillance network. 9 of the 13 City Council members sent a letter to Denver's auditor claiming that Mayor Johnston violated city contract rules by manipulating contracts with flock camera systems so that they would fall under the $500,000 threshold. That is the bar that requires City Council approval. The 9 members of council say clearly they would vote against any extension of a flock contract if it was brought before them. Council's also asking Auditor Tim O'Brien not to sign this contract. They say they are concerned about Flock's trustworthiness. The company made Denver's camera data available on a national network, which left that data open to federal immigration agents. That could lead to violations of Colorado state law. In a response, the auditor said that he recognized the need for checks and balances, and he said once he gets that contract, he'll review it and make a decision. Flock and police departments around the metro area are sharing success stories with the media several times a week, trying to convince the public of the value of that camera network in fighting crime. Then there's the case of a Coloradan who says that police recently used Flock cameras to wrongly accuse her of a crime, bragging that those cameras allowed police to track everyone coming and going from a small suburb of Denver.
There was a theft of a package from Ridge Trail on Tuesday. Like I said, we have cameras everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us noise. Right. You know the quality on the camera doorbell you have. Yep. I've got that on my phone right now of you taking that package.
Where is this place?
I just told you.
Holy cow. So last month, a Columbine Valley police officer came to Chrisana Elzer's door. That is Sergeant Jamie Milliman, who accused her of being a package thief, bragged about how, they track everybody going in and out of the town if they want. He said the department had Flock camera footage of her car driving through town on the day of the theft and doorbell video of her stealing the package. The officer gave Elzer a citation, said the case was a lock, 100%, no doubt, his words. Well, then Elzer collected her own evidence and took it to the police department. Video footage from her car showing that she never stopped to steal a package. Video from a tailor shop that she visited near the scene of the package theft. Columbine Valley's police chief then replied, telling her the case was dropped, congratulating her on scrambling to find enough evidence to prove her own innocence. A policy director with the ACLU says this is a textbook case of police over-reliance on surveillance.
Local governments, local police departments are using surveillance tools to identify people for low-level crimes without a lot of accountability, without a lot of meaningful human review. When we start allowing technology to make decisions that should be made by humans with discernment and being able to look at different levels of reasoning, it's a problem.
Elzer told us that she is exploring her legal options and that she's still waiting for an apology from Columbine Valley Police. We reached out to police and we didn't hear back. You'll hear on the news that 600,000 Coloradans will have to find a new way to put food on the table when SNAP food benefits lapse next week due to the government shutdown. But consider that about 300,000 of those people are children, who I would hope that we could all agree should not have to figure out how to find food to eat. Our Marshall Zellinger explains exactly who is on SNAP in Colorado.
Non-perishable foods, those in boxes and cans, are going to be in high demand as 600,000 SNAP recipients in Colorado look for a new way to get food in a few days.
This is the beginning of healthcare. If we don't have proper nutrition, we can't expect people to stay healthy.
On top of being the director of public health in Costilla County in the San Luis Valley, Paul Wirtz runs food bank distribution.
We're going to try to bring in an extra semi-load of food and do an extra distribution the second week of November.
The extra truck with peanut butter, tuna, and vegetables is in anticipation of unexpected food bank visitors. The darker the color on this map, the higher the population relies on SNAP. That darkest color is Costilla County, where 41% of the population receives SNAP benefits.
There's just not a lot of resources here. It's just a poor county.
Tommy Vigil is the county's head of social services.
We're okay for this month. I just don't want to see it go, onto another month or longer.
Of the 600,000 SNAP recipients in Colorado, half are kids, 15% have disabilities, and 10% are elderly.
It is a ripple effect. It isn't just our clients not getting SNAP benefits. It's all the stores and all the millions of dollars that they're going to lose out on.
Tommy has contingency plans and is already working on Plan C.
We bought I think it was $18,000 worth of MREs. The military ready-to-eat food.
MREs are for military members in combat or training or something where a kitchen is not nearby. Costilla County has these on hand for residents who live off the grid, but now have additional MREs for people who won't have SNAP benefits.
We'll be struggling more to find funds if we have to try to repeat this next month.
What would be my ask, right, of the government, And so I would just kind of like to see Congress not allow this shutdown to continue.
Maybe if Congress had to eat MREs as well. Based on that color-coded state map, this really impacts southern Colorado, northeastern Colorado, and the western slope. Kyle, Pueblo County has about 1 in 4 residents on SNAP, and northern and northeastern Colorado counties between 10 and 13%.
Wow. I mean, it's very striking to hear what they are preparing to do down there just to keep people fed, but that is the current state of play. Marshall Zallinger, thank you. Each week, your generous giving through your Word of Thanks microgiving campaigns changes lives. So effective immediately, we are going to focus our weekly efforts until further notice on fighting hunger in Colorado as those SNAP food benefits end this week. We begin that extended focus on hunger by supporting the Weld Food Bank. Leaders there say the loss of federal food benefits will create what they're calling an unbearable burden. 40,000 Coloradans in Weld County, half of them kids, rely on SNAP. So Weld Food Bank is buying more food right now by the semi-truckload. They estimate that they will need $500,000 worth of food to meet the initial need in northern Colorado. They routinely are seeing lines around the block as people wait for food. They are facing an overwhelming situation there, but they're still telling Coloradans to come to them if they need help with food. They told me, if people come to us, we can give them something. So I'm coming to you. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get that link to donate. 5 years of pooling your $5 donations or more if you're able has built a $16 million mountain of generosity in our state. You know I'll never ask you to give unless I do too, so I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us going. More than 6,000 of you have also signed up to make a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund. You put in your donation info once, and each month your generosity is automatically split among all the nonprofits we feature. And that's added an additional $30,000 each week.
I just always thought I'd like to go and see where he served.
And so they went. Descendants of Colorado's famed 10th Mountain Division take a walk in their father's footsteps. Next. County leaders in Pueblo are asking the state for money to deal with the current crisis in the coroner's office. Costs are adding up as an investigation tries to identify all the bodies found hidden in a mortuary operated by the now former coroner, Brian Cotter. He ran Davis Mortuary in Pueblo along with his brother. Inspectors found nearly 24 decaying bodies hidden in the funeral home back in August. Yesterday, county commissioners sent a letter to the governor estimating the investigation and this complex identification process will cost more than $1 million. They said it is simply not in Pueblo County's budget. The state had already promised to kick in $300,000 and to share additional costs 50-50. Pueblo is asking if they might bump that up to a 70-30 split. About $1.5 million. Meteorologist Chris Bianchi, there will come a day when the sun sets on this program. Today, in fact, is the last day that the sun sets after this program goes on the air.
There you go. Nice lead in there, Kyle.
I tried my best.
That's very, very good.
Only the best for you.
High five. Meantime for us, it's our last 6 p.m. or later sunset of 2025. We will not have another 6 p.m. or later sunset again until March the 9th. And of course, we push those clocks back, which means those sunsets starting on Sunday will be before 5 p.m. So you'll notice that. Otherwise, lows tonight, not as cold as last night. We dropped down to 21 officially out at the airport. Coldest morning since March the 15th, downtown Denver. 26 degrees for us here at Spear and Logan tonight. Notably warmer for us, but we're still in the mid-30s. Tomorrow, similar to today, sunshine, 56 degrees, very pleasant weather. And then that 7-day forecast, we've got some mild conditions for this weekend, but a brief cool down. I talked about this yesterday. This has a slight link, indirect link to Hurricane Melissa. Mid-70s for us on Sunday, and then next week we're on the mild side and on the dry side with highs in the 60s and 70s.
The descendants of Colorado's 10th Mountain Division walk a historic route far from home.
Yeah, Riva Ridge it's a steep son of a gun.
Hard work, but worth it. That perspective next. A family's legacy can be measured in many ways, footsteps among them. Recently, family members of World War II 10th Mountain Division veterans walked where their ancestors did, at the scene of a significant battle in Italy.
To not forget, to remember, and I think we are forgetting. My name is Peggy Hall, and my dad was William Dwayne Parker. So when he got out of basic training, he joined the 10th.
Hi, my name's Ricky Swedin. My father was in the 10th Mountain Division. He was in the 87th Regiment Service Company. I signed up for the 2023 reunion group, and Peggy and I ended up meeting. We've been good friends since. The 10th Mountain climbed in the middle of the night.
To come up over the ridge at sunrise and surprise the Germans who didn't think it was climbable. That was what was significant about taking Riva. It was just another group of the 10th descendants that went on this trip. Of course, Ricky said she was going to go, and I said, well, I'm going too.
It really wasn't what happened to me. It's what happened to Peggy. Her dad was on the far north end of Riva Ridge. She wanted to get back to see where her dad had been. That was my whole trip. That she got to live her dream.
That's so nice, Ricky. Thank you.
It's true. It's true.
Oh, wow. My dad fought against fascism to protect and give the Italians back their freedom. And of course, part of that was to be able to maintain and keep our freedom.
We're back with your feedback next. Your Word of Thanks microgiving campaigns for the foreseeable future are going to be focused on feeding Coloradans as SNAP food benefits lapse later this week due to the government shutdown. Fact is, hunger was already a crisis in many parts of Colorado without the federal government pulling the rug out from under these families, and it has food banks and other providers scrambling, and quite honestly, they're really worried right now. Worried, but working to meet the need. This week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports Weld Food Bank. They have seen crushing amounts of interest and need in the anticipation of these SNAP food benefits going away at the end of this week. I was so struck by something that they said to me recently, which is that if people come to us, we can give them something, right? They know that even if they're not able to meet a family's food needs, they can do something for them. So scan the QR code on your screen, text the word thanks to 303-871-1491. To join me in giving. Shirley writes in to say that quote from Weld Food Bank, if they come to us, we can give them something, should be the motto of Word of Thanks. I like that, Shirley, right? Even if we can't fix problems, we can make life better for our neighbors, and that's what we intend to do.